Cloud Shell also is pointing to this particular project. I have my GitHub open, and in GitHub, I have something called microservice. And in my Docker Hub, I have this page open. So what I will do is I will try to clone this thing. Okay. So to clone this, come here, come here, come here, take this guy. In the shell, say git clone and clone this entire repo. So what will happen is whatever code you have in GitHub will be cloned here. So ls -l, you will see this is there. Then microservice. Okay, here you can see there are these many deployment files. Now there are many things which I don't need. I need only the YAML files. Okay, so I'm going to delete the fields which I don't need because unnecessary, they may create a problem. So I will go to these files. Okay, so I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I can see these 9 files are there. Okay, now let me go to these files one by one. So if you see carefully, 1 second, microservice. So if you see carefully, the first file I have DB deployment or not, but how is this coming from and what is this? So let me just come to this. Now, this is what we are trying to implement. So we are trying to implement a microservice based architecture where there are 5 different components. Okay. So in one of the applications, I'm running Python. In one of the applications, I'm working Node.NET. In one of the applications, I'm running Postgre and the Redis in another one. And finally, I'm using Node.js. So this is a voting application. Okay. So a user can vote and whatever data will be voted will go and sit here. It is in your database and this will cache the content. So this is database. This is the cache. This is doing the calculation. This is the front end and this is who is going to show me the dashboard. Okay. Wait. Okay. So this is what we are going to implement. Now, each application has its own YAML file. So if I come here, ls -l, you will see db deployment.yaml, redis deployment.yaml, result is Python, vote is this guy. Second, where did it go? So this is my db YAML. This is my db YAML. This is one by one I'll go. So let me come here. 1 second, here. DB deployment, Redis. So DB deployment, Redis. Then result, vote, worker. So this is result, this is vote, and this is worker. So I have 5 deployment files. If you go to any of these deployment files, let me say I go to my worker file. You will see it is a deployment file, type is deployment. I have given a name as worker. Here I'm creating a new namespace with the namespace as voting because I want to keep everything separate. Okay. And everywhere I'm using a container image, which is holding my application. So if I come here, I have 4 images here, which I have created: app_vote, app_result, Postgre, app worker. So these are the 4 images which I'm running here. Okay. And app_worker. This is app_worker. Similarly, if you go to this guy, vote. Wait a second, let me see what's the name. If I go to vote_deployment, I can see app underscore vote is running here. So I'm running these images here. Now all these images are public, so you can simply clone it and get your work done. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 images is what I'm running. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to execute everything. So when I say execute everything, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 deployment files and 4 service file. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to run all of them. Now, if I have to run all of them in one single shot, what I'm going to,
why one service file is not there?
I will come to that, because there is an internal communication which is happening. If you see the microservice based architecture, let me come here. Wait, I will come here. So there is one internal, sorry, this does not have, wait, I'll first run it and then show you. That will make more sense. So let me come here and say kubectl apply -f. Now, one by one, I don't want to run. I want to run everything at one shot. So I've just given F. It will give me an error because, okay, it did not give me an error because I have already created a namespace. So if I come here and say kubectl get namespace, you will see this voting namespace is already there. But in case when you run it, okay, you will get a error because this voting namespace will not be there for you. So when you are running, make sure that you do something like this: kubectl, then you say create namespace kubectl create namespace voting. So this namespace you have to create. You will see this namespace here, and then you run it like this. All the files kubectl apply -f. Okay. Now clear all these things. Now I will come here and say kubectl get all, means what all got created. Now it will not show me anything because when I say all, it is showing me the default namespace. But where do you want to see? I want to see it in the voting namespace. Okay. So I told voting is a, or namespace is a logical boundary. Now the question is, why am I not able to see one more this thing? See here, DB, Redis, result, vote. Okay. So these are the 4 applications. Redis, DB, this worker does not need a service, voting, and this is my, this application, what you say, service result. So it will show me my result. So one of the application doesn't need any, what you say, service to get connected. Okay. So this is what is I have done. I have created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This I don't need. Okay. This is additional. I think there is one additional thing created. This deployment I don't need as of now. I'll come to this later. Let me come here, and why this got created. Just let me check this now. One second. DB. Vote. I'm not sure why this guy got created. I did not create this. Canary deployment. Can you see this deployment? Why did this got created? This should not get created. DB. Put. Okay, let me just come here. Clear. Cat port deployment YAML. Is it that I did not delete it? Wait, let me delete everything. kubectl delete -f dot. So I'm trying to delete everything. Okay. Give me 1 minute. There is one additional which is created, which is ideally it should not be created now. Later it will get created. I will do it. But I think somewhere I have left something because of which it got created. So I'm trying to delete everything and then create it fresh. It may be from my previous class that it is still there. Just wait for a minute. Okay. kubectl get all. Okay. Now I don't have anything. ls minus l db deployment db service redis result vote worker. Deployment voting. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's create it now. kubectl apply minus f dot. So deployment service. This time it is correct. So let me come here and say kubectl get all. Minus n voting. Okay, so again this deployment is getting created, man. And this is there from 10 hours, means it is from my morning class. Okay, it is not from here right now, but I don't know why it is getting created. Let me delete it. Okay, kubectl delete minus f. Anyhow, we'll create it again, but I don't want to keep it here now. Minus n voting. Here it says it is not there. So you can see here, right? It is 10 hours, means it is created before only, not now. Okay. Now come here and say kubectl get all. Okay, so I can see 4 services there, which is expected. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see 1, 2, 3, 5 deployment is there expected. I can see 5 replica expected and 5 pods are expected. Yeah, this is perfectly okay. Now, if you see carefully, I have result and vote, which are load balancer. Okay, and these are cluster IP. So I'm not worried about the cluster IP. I want this guy, which is working at port 80. Okay, so I will try to run this application. So simply take this IP address, come here and put the IP address like this. So here my application will start. So this is my voting application, and the request is getting routed to VVDR6. So VVDR6. This request, this container is running this request. Okay. Now this is my result. So when you vote here, you will get a result. So this is my voting. You have to vote, and when you vote, you get results. So as of it says no votes yet. Now let me do a voting here. Let me say I'm voting for a cat. So it has been voted. Come here. See, 1 vote has been posted for cat. So it is 100%. Now, same browser, you cannot do it again. Okay. So you have to take this guy. Okay. Go to Cognito window. New Cognito window. And let me say, again, I'll vote for cat. Okay. Come back here. Now you see 2 votes. Both the votes has gone to cat. Now again, let's go to Cognito window. So if you want to test it multiple times, you will have to run a lot of Cognito windows. Okay. This time I'm doing at dog. So dog. Now I'll close the Cognito window. Now here it says, I think somebody has done in the background. So 2 votes are showing. No, wait, let me refresh this guy. It is showing 2 votes. Wait, let me do it again. Come here. New Cognito window. Dog. I'm voting for the dog. Okay. Now it's showing 2 votes only. Wait, I think it is now not taking. The Cognito window is also stopped. So basically what is the problem is, like, if many people vote from their side, So even if I open Cognito window, at the end of the day, it is my IP address, like whatever IP I'm using, that IP address. So with that, it is not able to give me more results. But at the end of the day, this is what I'm able to see. Okay, that you are able to capture the results. So whenever a voting is done, okay, whoever is doing a voting, you can try from your side. If you go for this URL, you can go and try to give a vote. And if you give a vote, these numbers will change. See, dog got 2 votes and this became 0%. So like this, what will happen is every time when people log in, they will put a vote, and this vote will be done here, and it will come here in my URL or here in my dashboard. Okay. Now, this is my application. Now, suppose I want to change something. Okay. In the application, if I have to change something, generally what people do is, if you're not giving anything, it is rolling update. Okay. And yesterday I showed you how rolling update is done. But in day-to-day scenario, rolling update is not used. So what is that we use? So we either use blue-green deployment. We either do blue-green deployment or we do canary deployment. Now, what is blue-green deployment? So basically what happens, if you see here, this is my gateway or this is my channel. Now it is pointing it here. I will simply take this and I'll start pointing it here. The problem with this guy is that it is expensive and it is risky, because 100% traffic you are navigating at the same time. So let me say I would like to do that. So how to do that? So let me come back. Come here to deployment strategy, come here to blue-green deployment, and I will go ahead and create a new deployment, which is exactly similar to this. Okay, whatever deployment I have already created, I will create a new deployment, which is very similar to this. Okay, so let me come here, say BI. Okay, so I'm creating a new deployment green.yaml, and I'm going to paste this piece of code here. So I'm creating another deployment with almost same features what I have in my earlier thing, but I'm going to make a change here. I'll show you what change I'm going to do. Paste this guy. Sorry, it did not get posted correctly. Wait. No, it is not getting posted. Wait a second. Wait. Nano deployment -green .yaml. Okay, so I am pasting it by nano. Now here it is going good. So what I'm doing, I am creating a new deployment with the name as green deployment. Okay, so what is there inside this deployment? Deployment. See here, I have given the name as vote_green, and the app label is vote_green, and I'm running v3_green, the original one. Cat. This is vote, right? Wait. Wait a second. Vote deployment. So if I see the original one, vote deployment, you can see the difference here. This is all okay. The name is different. The name is different. Here the name is only vote. Here it is vote green. Namespace is okay. Replica is okay. The most important thing which is changing is vote green. Here the match label is vote green. Here it is vote. Okay. And the last thing which is changing is this guy. Here I'm bringing a new application. Here I'm running the old application. Now the service related to this, cat vote service, it is pointing to whom? It is pointing to see, app vote. So it is pointing to this guy. Now what I will do is I will ask him to point to this guy. How I will do? Just I'll change this alias. So I will go here and I will simply say, I will change the label nano. So I will simply come here and say, change this to vote underscore green. So I have changed the app label. Okay. So now my load balancer is pointing to the new window. How can I work that? kubectl apply -f. Okay. And I will first apply this guy. Copy. So I will make the deployment changes first. And also I'll make changes to my deployment file. Sorry, my service file. Okay. So now my service kubectl apply -f unexpected argument. Okay. Let me do it one by one. So first I'm changing the deployment. Wait a second. This is this one, deployment green.yaml I have to run. Copy. kubectl apply -f paste. So I'm creating a new deployment here. Okay. And also I will change my service file. kubectl apply -f vote service. Okay. Let me clear this. kubectl apply -f. Okay. Vote, and that was service. Okay, so this has been configured. Now come here and say kubectl get all. So now what you will see is a new deployment has been created. -n voting. So a new deployment has been created. Let me come up with that new deployment. See here, a new deployment, which is vote green. Vote green is created. And with that one, pod is also running. The service is same. Earlier, this service was pointing to my old application because the app label was only vote. Now it is sending the traffic to the new application. What will change in that case? So it was pointing to a different location earlier. Now it will point to a different location. You can see that it has already started pointing. The background has changed. See here. So let me just run it. You can see here, it is pointing to green 6F64 B7 B72 F KF. So it is pointing to B72 KF. B72 KF. Who is this guy? This. It is pointing to this pod. So this is a blue-green deployment. When I do a blue-green deployment, this is how I start my work. User, this gateway was first pointing to this guy. Now I will make it point to this guy. So I will do two things here. I will create a parallel environment. And earlier, if it was pointing to blue, I will now make it point to green. So that's the only change which we do. Now, what is the scenario or what is the use case for that? The use case is like, suppose a bug has been reported. Now, because a bug has reported, it has to be fixed urgently. I don't have time to, give me 1 second. Okay, so this is what we have done. And in a real-time scenario, I have to deploy some changes, and that changes has to go fast. So I have to go with blue-green deployment. But the problem with this is one second. Okay, so it is creating some confusion. Wait, let me just explain this to you. Let's start from here. Rolling update. Okay, see, this is rolling update. Okay, now if I have to work with rolling update, how it works? So I have two applications or two pods, whatever you say, two pods. I have to upgrade the version. So I will introduce V2 and delete this V1. And I will allow V2 to run. Okay. Then these two V2s are okay. So I will delete this guy. And now if you see here, I have removed both V1 and I have brought both V2. So in this case, it is rolling, means one will come, get changed, and then the other will come one by one. Okay. So it is saying work slowly one by one. Then if I go with blue-green deployment, or let me come here to this guy. See here. So my pods are running. So let me say my pods are running with version V1. There are users and the service is there, which is pointing to the blue environment. Now I want to make some changes. So I have made the changes by not touching this at all. I have created an environment which is equivalent to this, almost similar to this. Everything is similar, only I have introduced my changes, V2. Okay. Now this service, let me come here. This service was pointing to this guy all this time. Now what I will do is I'll stop this traffic and I will ask my service to point it to this guy. How did I do that? So to do that, I have simply changed my app label. If you come here, let's clear out this and say ls minus l. You can see this service is now pointing to, see here, it is pointing to vote_green. Who is vote_green? Cat. So if I go to this file of mine, deployment, see here, vote_green. See here, vote_green. So the deployment is now vote_green and it is pointing to vote_green. Earlier, what was the situation? Earlier, the situation was that my service was pointing to this guy, cat vote and by deployment. So earlier, this was the label and my service was also pointing to this label. Now what I have done, I have changed the label and I'm making sure that now it is pointing to one second. Okay, so I have my service pointing to my new deployment. Okay, so this is called blue-green deployment. Now the scene here is that both the services or sorry, both the deployments coexist. Now here in my service, in my deployment, I have only one container. So it is no problem. But if it's a big application, then to run two environments in parallel may cause a cost issue. Okay, now I will open for questions. If anyone has any questions, please go ahead.
So what is the main use of this?
This is a deployment strategy. When you have to change something from version 1 to version 2, version 2 to version 3, you will never ever want a downtime. If there is a downtime, it means your applications are not reachable. Suppose you have bought a Netflix subscription. Okay. Wait a second. One second, man. I have to. One minute, guys. Guys, if anyone has any question, please let me know.
Yes, I do.
Wait
Yes,
a
I do.
second. I will just increase my volume from here. Wait a second. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so I understand this blue-green approach. So before you move, like when you deploy like the new version of the application, before you go live, you've got to give access to testers. They test the new application before you change the routing.
Correct.
From the blue to green or from green to blue. No, yeah, from blue to green. Now my question is, the DNS for like let's say on Facebook, people access Facebook. They access Facebook not through an IP, they access it through a DNS name. So for people, users, Facebook users, the DNS was already attached to the blue approach, like the blue.
So there is where I am switching over the routes,
And
right? I'm switching over the routes and I'm allowing the, see, I'll come to this guy. See here.
No,
So
but there is something missing because the DNS is attached to the blue deployment. So how can the DNS be moved to the the green deployment?
so if you remember, wait, there is something called ingress. I will come to that later. Okay. But what
Okay,
will
but you
happen-
didn't touch ingress, did you?
Yeah. So what will happen is earlier this route was open. What you will do is you will close this channel and you will make this channel work.
Why that is needed, sir? That's a question. Why that is needed? And during that stopping, the entire application will be stopped, or it will be running like parallelly. And then once it is we move it to the green, and then a blueprint will be go off.
Yeah, Dhanush, I'm there. I'll drop an email now.
Hope data side it is good also. Otherwise hard to see. I mean, insurance government all. I'm saying data side, data.
Sorry, because hello.
Hey, sorry, man. Parallelly, I was on another this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of distractions in between. I think I mean you might have some busy
Hey, go ahead.
schedule.
That is done. That is done. That is done.
Yeah, that's fine. But you can. I mean, I mean, I want to be very frank here. Like I have spent 1
Yeah.
hour, but the examples you have taken is not so convincing. Like we
You tell
can't
me
even
which point is not convincing for you.
No, it is not like that, sir.
the
It is
blue-green
confusing.
deployment or the rolling updates, like the examples you are given. Maybe you need to take another example because the example you have taken is not convincing. That's what
Okay.
I felt.
See, for rolling update, I will take another example. Anyhow, by default, whatever we update is rolling update only, unless and until exclusively mentioned. Anyhow, in the coming class, I will take something like this. Okay. It is there in the agenda, but just wanted to show you something. See, there is something called rolling update. You'll find it.
Vikas, I just wanted to add something, jump into what he just said previously. Myself, I did, I've covered this theory about blue-green approach beforehand. And I feel like even today, just by the questions, it really reflects the way you've explained it. You just literally jumped into it, and then you've not even explained the purpose of why companies are doing this. You literally just went into it. You just went into the kubectl setup, and then you just started, going
Okay.
into like this,
So
and then
let
you
me
missed so
take
many, details about this.
Yeah. So let me take the theoretical thing again, okay? And then I'll come back to this thing because anyhow canary deployment is pending. Okay. See, so generally what we do is if I'm going,
Sorry.
so let me explain first, then I'll take questions, or you just everybody ask the question, then I can take it. Either way will work. So let's take all the questions and then we can consolidate and do the part again.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about my question. Like we are doing blue-green deployment, right? So like we are specifying with a selector like this one. So version V1 and version V2, right? So in the middle, like for example, if something goes wrong in the new application, so in the how we can route, like is there any time specification or else based on the any rules we can specify in the routing? So how
See,
this will work out?
okay. See, so every time when you do a deployment, okay, there will be something called rollback strategy. Okay. Rollback strategy is nothing but if something goes wrong, what will you do to fix the problem? Okay. Now in the rollback strategy, first thing is how will you come to know that there was a problem? So there will be monitoring team, okay, who will monitor the application stating that, okay, this is what has to be done. This is what is missed, all those things. Once the monitoring team reports an issue, say that this is not working or this is not as expected, you will roll back. So when I say roll back, if you remember while teaching rolling update, I showed you there is something called undo deployment. There is a command where you can undo the deployment and you can roll back to your previous state. Suppose I am running with blue-green deployment. So I have done one very small thing. The very small thing which I did is I just changed my service. The service was pointing to application V1 first. Now I'm making it to point to application V2. So that's the only change which I have done. Apart from that, I have not changed anything else. So in case there is a failure, I will again switch it back from V2 to V1, and hence I will roll back my changes.
And one more thing, in the meantime, like while we are switching V1 to V2, right? So all the existing transactions, like all the sessions,
Yes, everything will be gone. Everything will be gone.
Okay.
That's why I told this is not the best way to do the deployment. The best way to do the deployment, which most of the companies use, is canary deployment. So in canary deployment, what you do is you do not put everything at the same time. So you do something like this. This is blue green. In canary, like one of you were pointing that I will release it for some users. So this is what I will do. I will release the code version 2, but only for some users. Then when these users are confident, these users are okay, I will switch it to another set of users, and then finally to all the users. So in theory, if I go by theory, there are 4 types of deployment. One, or the older one, is big bang deployment. Big bang deployment is you shut down everything. Okay. You bring your new application and then start from scratch. The problem with big bang deployment is that it takes a lot of time and there is a lot of downtime. Means when you're doing a deployment, the customers will be not able to access your application, and that's a problem. So we go with rolling update, which is the default. When I go with rolling update, state 0, you see all the 3 are running with V1. In state 1, this came up, and then the second came up, and then finally everything got updated. This is time consuming, and moreover, you cannot control which pod should get updated when. So that level of control is not there. It is slow and it happens one by one. So if I have 10,000 containers to update, and even if one takes, let me 6 minutes, it is 6 into 10,000 minutes, which is a good amount of time. So there is another way of working, which is called blue-green deployment, red-black deployment, or AB deployment, whatever you say. The common name is blue-green deployment. Here, what we do is we create 2 environments. One is blue environment, the other one is green environment. When you have not done the changes, it is pointing to version 1. What you do is you take all these pointers. Basically, these pointers are nothing but your service. You take all these pointers and put it here. One shot. So you have not changed, you have not removed anything. You have simply pointed everything to this guy. So any traffic which will come will now simply go to V2. So it is very fast, it is costly, and the risk is on a higher side. Okay. But the best way to work is canary deployment, where I go ahead and release it for first users. Let me say 100 users, 1,000 users. Then I will wait for them to give me approval. Kind of, they are not raising any bug, they are okay. So this V2 is okay. Then I will go with the second, then third, like that I will go. Very similar to rolling update, but here it is fast. I have complete control on with whom I will be updating and how much I will be updating. So canary is the deployment strategy which will be mostly getting used in my production environment. Rolling update is the default one, and big bang, definitely we don't use it. And we don't use for blue-green deployment also because that is costly. For small change, you cannot make it like this. Okay. So this is what we will be taking, or we have on a theory level. Okay. Hands-on, I'd show it again to you when I'm doing this canary deployment. Okay. So
yeah, so
theoretically, if you have any questions.
Yeah, the concept which you told, it is good, understandable. But the thing is, like you told the examples and the manifest files, like pointing to, that is a bit confusing, and there is not the actual explanation which I didn't understand. Like
so we will do the same in the coming class, and I'll make sure that we go step by step, and then I will make you understand everything, and then I will go with the example.
Okay.
Any questions? Please go ahead.
And sir, simple way, can you please explain what is the blue-green deployment and green deployment, and why we are moving into blue to green?
Okay, now let me say you are using an Android phone. Okay, now in Android phone, they have released a new update. Okay, now let me say you are updating your mobile phone and it takes half an hour. Okay, you updated and you are using the new version of Android. Now, because of that, your phone is heating. So you have raised a complaint. Okay, now you are an individual user who is raising a complaint. Probably there are 1,000 other users who have done the same thing and they're having a problem. Let me say the company had done a blue-green deployment, means they have rolled the updates for all the users. So all the users are facing problem. Everybody is complaining. So they will have a bigger pressure that 10,000 users are complaining. Now what they will do is, rather than doing a blue-green deployment, they will deploy it only for 100 people. Okay, like beta testing what they do. So they will deploy only for 100 users. These 100 users will test, they're happy, and then they will deploy it to the larger audience. So in this case, the risk is on a lower side because the reputation of the company goes down if you launch a faulty product in the market. That is why blue-green deployment is risky and candidate deployment is safer.
So this will come up with only the when there is any update in the images.
You're updating your images, you're updating your application, then only we do a deployment.
Oh, then only this concept will come, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because this one for the blue-green deployment does require any additional setup to do?
There is no additional setup required, but you have to replicate this environment. So let me say here, you need 10 servers. Here also you need 10 servers. So the same infrastructure is to be replicated again.
So the 10, so 2 applications will be running, right? So
yes.
the version 1, version 2, 2 applications are running.
And if you're using a cloud environment or anything, you pay double the cost what you actually pay. So that's why I'm saying it is costly.
Okay.
Okay, so blue-green indicates like production and DR kind of thing, like
the DR, the purpose of DR is separate. So we don't say it's a DR environment. Rather, you can say it is a blue-green environment. Let it be blue-green only.
Okay, mirror kind of thing. Okay, so the default is rolling update, but most rolling update, most of the companies will use like a percentage how rolling update or blue-green.
90% will use candidate deployment. Another 5% will use your this thing. What do you say? Another 5% will use rolling update, and another 5% will use blue-green deployment. So blue-green deployment is not recommended.
Okay.
Vikas, can you please show me a V2 to V1 rollback?
No, V2 to V1 rollback you can do simply by coming here. You come here to this service file. This app label you change back to vote. It will automatically roll back. Okay, fine. See you then tomorrow, guys, Monday, and I'll start again with the deployment strategies. Fine.